I worked the closing shift at a big grocery store chain in a mid-sized town in Ohio. I'm 24, female, and usually not too paranoid, but something about that parking lot at night always gave me a weird vibe. It's one of those older plazas with dim overhead lighting and a huge lot that never fills. By the time we closed around 11:30 p.m., it was almost completely empty, except for staff's cars. I usually parked close to the main entrance, but on this one night, all the closer spots were taken when I arrived, so I parked way off near the end of the lot, under one of the few flickering lamp posts. When my shift ended, I clocked out as usual, said goodbye to the night crew, and started walking out. When I got to the edge of the lot, I saw a man standing under the lamppost near my car. He wasn't smoking. He wasn't on his phone. Just there, standing, staring, like he was waiting for something or someone. I tensed. I slowed down and looked around, hoping maybe he'd move or show some sign that he was just some normal dude. But he didn't. He just turned his head very slightly and moved one step forward. I veered back towards the store entrance, pretending to be texting. I waited behind one of the thick concrete pillars near the storefront and peeked again. Now he was walking around my car, real slow, like he was inspecting it. That's when I knew this wasn't random. He was stalking me, and he wasn't trying to hide it. I called one of my co-workers who'd just left and asked him to circle back. As I did this, the man stopped circling my car and just stood next to the driver's door. My co-worker pulled in a few minutes later. The guy walked off, real casual, like nothing happened. But instead of leaving the parking lot, he ducked behind another car a few rows away. I drove home that night with my co-worker following. When I got out and checked my car in daylight the next morning, I found a note pegged to the wiper. It read, "You thought I wouldn't know where you work." That really frightened me. The following morning, I talked to the plaza's security manager, hoping they captured him on camera or they had noted his weird behaviors. Unfortunately, with no cameras pointing that far into the lot, there wasn't much to go on. A couple weeks went by. By then, I had already changed shifts and started parking closer to the plaza's entrance. In fact, I forgot about the incident and shrugged it off as an isolated one. What I didn't know is that the horror was only beginning. After a month or so, I received a new note, same handwriting. This time, it was stashed at the passenger door's lock. "You left your doors unlocked this time," the note read. At that point, it was clear to me that someone was stalking me to work. I started leaving my car at home. I got rides from my co-workers and even paid for an Uber a couple times. Anything to avoid being alone in that parking lot again. Still, I never reported it to police. I know I probably should have. But without a plate number or security footage, I didn't want to get brushed off or seem paranoid. About a week after the second note, I came home from a long shift, exhausted, and just wanted to crash. I walked into my apartment, and right there next to the main door's lock, I saw a note. "You lock your doors these days? That's cute," it read. "Whoa, you mean he even knows where I live?" I asked myself from inside. I called the police that night and filed a report. They dusted for fingerprints at the main door and checked the building's security footage. I was even more astonished when they told me that they didn't find any lead or constructive clues for supporting a further investigation. They told me it might have been someone I knew, someone really close. I started sleeping with the lights on. I bought pepper spray and one of those door jam security bars. At some point, I even considered acquiring a firearm. I know that sounds dramatic, but when someone stalks your every move, your life changes. My contract with the company ended a few months later. I didn't even bother negotiating for an extension. Although I loved my job, I just wanted to move out of the area. My sister was happy to help me move in with her. I guess she realized that the stalking and the weird notes overwhelmed me. I was really fed up. I mean, how do you concentrate or even go to bed at night knowing that someone is watching you? Moving in with my sister was an important step in restoring my peace of mind. But believe me or not, he came back. Just 2 weeks ago, my sister found a note taped to the front door. It was in the same handwriting. "Found you," the note read. Although we haven't seen another note or anything unusual in the house, I think someone is really after me, and he seems pretty serious. As I write this email, I can tell you that I am desperate. My sister also seems really terrified. Although we have involved the police in this, I am really afraid for my life. Not long ago, I worked as a retailer in a department store in Tucson, Arizona. I loved my job and the surroundings. Just a perfect place to live and bring up a family. My love for the job and the area changed when this mystery stalker came into my life. I remember the incident really well. It was around 8 p.m. when I pulled into work and parked in a section of the lot that wasn't well lit, but close enough to be convenient. As usual, I hurriedly changed and joined my colleagues, ready to engage the first customer group. Most of my colleagues seemed excited. However, I remember Mercy telling me that she felt off. Like everything in the retail store didn't feel right. Mercy was my coworker and a best friend. Bring your mind back to work. Forget about him for now. You have the whole of tomorrow for that, I told her jokingly, just to ensure that she put herself together. When I signed off and went to pick my car at the parking lot, I noticed a black car parked a few spaces away, engine still running. Tinted windows, no lights on, just idling. I didn't think much of it. Just someone waiting for a pickup, maybe scrolling on their phone, I told myself. But when I saw it several more times, parked differently each time, I started getting really worried. I couldn't help thinking that this was too much of a coincidence. The fourth time, I decided to test something. I waited inside the store until most of the lot cleared out. Then I exited from a different side and watched from a distance. Sure enough, that black car moved, not out of the lot, just repositioned. As if it was trying to keep me in view. That's when it clicked. I wasn't imagining this. I was being watched. I told Mercy. She joked that maybe I had finally found my secret admirer or something. But it wasn't funny anymore when the car started showing up in places that had nothing to do with work. The first time was outside my gym. I parked, went in for a workout, and when I came out 45 minutes later, the black car was 2 rows down. No one got out. No plates I could see. Just parked there, idling. The second time was worse. I stopped by a 24-hour pharmacy to grab some cold meds. I parked directly in front of the glass entrance under bright lights. The black car pulled in across the lot and killed its lights. This time, the car didn't just sit there. It slowly rolled across the parking lot, almost like it was scouting. I ducked behind the pharmacy shelf and asked the clerk if I could wait a few minutes inside. I watched the car circle the lot twice and then leave. About a week later, I went out with a couple friends and got back to my apartment a little after midnight. As I turned onto my street, I saw the same car parked across from my building. This time, someone was standing outside of it, leaning on the hood, facing my building. I drove past slowly, turned onto a side street, and parked in a neighbor's driveway. I killed the lights and watched. The guy never moved. Just stood there like he was waiting for someone. I tensed. I decided it was time to involve the authorities. And since I didn't know his motives, I decided to stay at a friend's place that night. After a few questions, the police told me that unless he threatened me or entered my property, there wasn't much they could do. But they told me to call them immediately if I saw the car again. I changed my schedules and started arriving at work early, just before the dark set in. It seemed like it worked. No sightings for almost a month. Then one Thursday evening, I came out of the grocery store, and there I saw it. The black car, again, parked one aisle over from mine. I called the police immediately, but even before someone arrived, the car was gone. The officers examined the security cameras adjacent to the parking lot. What they found was really disturbing, at least for me. The man had been watching me way longer than I realized. He was even seen taking pictures of my house and trying the front door lock. They had enough evidence to start an active investigation and a manhunt. I moved out of the house that same day. Currently, I am residing with my mom a few hundred miles away in Maricopa County. I haven't seen the black car since, but anytime I catch headlights in my rearview mirror a little too long, I still feel that cold drop in my stomach. I fear that he will find me before the police apprehend him. I was 28 at the time when I came face to face with the most terrifying experience of my life. Just to bring you quickly to my life back then, I worked at a clothing store inside a strip mall in West Virginia. It wasn't a big store, we were busy. In most days, we closed at around 10 p.m., but only when all customers had left. I enjoyed working at the retail store, in large part because I wanted to gain essential skills for building a successful business. I have a dream of building a big company that will employ many people and generate enough passive income to support me and my kids. Personal story aside, I just wanted you to get a quick glimpse into my life, which could help explain why I worked really hard as a retailer. Although I really needed the paycheck, I stuck to the retail position because I wanted to learn essential skills that would help me become a successful business owner. I started with customer relationship management. I am a fan of Robert Kiyosaki, who strongly encourages business owners to study customer behavior, especially if they want to stay ahead of competition. I paid attention. But there was always something odd, almost mysterious about this middle-aged customer. At first, I didn't pay much attention. However, I started getting interested when I realized that he never bought anything at our store. I noted that he'd just walk around, look at the shelves, and walk out after a few minutes. He never spoke, just stared. One night, when taking the trash to the rear dumpster behind the store, I saw him, just standing there next to the alley wall, as if he waited for someone. I decided not to always avoid walking to the parking lot alone at night. So, on this fateful night, I asked Jenny to escort me to my car. I was really afraid of going to the parking lot alone. As usual, the man was there again. Same hoodie, same blank stare. But this time he smiled at us, almost like he knew Jenny. But the smile wasn't friendly. It was like he was enjoying seeing me getting horrified. The following day, we asked the security officer to check the previous day's footage. We weren't ready for what we saw. For 3 consecutive nights, he had parked in the lot and just waited, sometimes for hours before I even came in. Then he'd leave right after my car was gone. He never entered the store, never knocked, never tried to speak. He just watched. We were all astonished. I was especially afraid because I knew that I was the target. On another terrifying night, I came out of the store late. I'd stayed after to help with inventory. It was just past 10:30 p.m., and the parking lot was silent. I walked quickly toward my car, keys in hand. Behind me, I heard a voice, low, male, from the shadows behind the car next to mine. "You work too much." I spun around. The man was standing right in front of me. My keys slipped from my hand. He didn't move toward me or anything. He just whispered, "I hope one day I will make you mine," in a soft, low tone. Without thinking, I bolted back towards the entrance, banging on the glass. My manager came rushing out, but by the time we looked again, he was gone. We filed a police report. After asking me a few questions, they said they would look into the case and left a hot dial number in case he reappeared. But that was it. No name, no arrest. Just a "we'll keep an eye out" affirmation message. The man has never been seen on the parking lot again. I guess he must have known that the police were looking for him. But the realization that someone was actually stalking me for God knows how long has implanted an unusual fear in me. I mean, he could be watching me right at this moment as I write this email. I just hope this was not big of an issue and the man has since changed his mind. But I deeply understand that I am surviving off of hope. Like for real.